Did Sir Isaac Newton predict Nibiru? His apocalypse warning matches Planet X date. And this was before Planet X Nibiru was so heavily followed. John Austin of Express UK reports, Sir Isaac Newton predicted when the end of the world will occur and bizarrely gave the same date as believers of the Nibiru apocalypse conspiracy, and this is what has emerged. The godfather of physics, Sir Isaac Newton, wrote in his findings back in 1704 how he believed the world is set to end in the year 2060, which is exactly 1,260 years after the foundation of the Holy Roman Empire. Express UK revealed 2060 is also the year that many Nibiru theorists claim the mythical Planet X system, Nibiru Planet X, will come past the Earth, causing earthquakes, volcanoes on our planet. The late veteran U.S. conspiracy theorist Jim Marrs outlined the 2060 passing date in a documentary before he passed away in August of last year. Newton reached his apocalyptic conclusion because of his analysis. He analyzed the Bible's book of Daniel, and according to his notes, but now how he reached the conclusion exactly is still a mystery more than 300 years later. His work on this matter, which was kept in the trunk in a house of the Earl of Portsmouth for 250 years, reads, quote, "It may end later, but I see no reason for its ending sooner. This I mention not to assert when the time of the end shall be, but to put a stop to the rash conjectures of fanciful men who are frequently predicting the time of the end, and by doing so bringing the sacred prophecies into discredit as often as their predictions fail." End quote. It has led to speculation Newton may have been referring to Nibiru, or some other body that's coming around every so often. We also remember that the ancient Egyptian high priests knew of all this, that there is a binary star type of a system that comes into close to Earth, wreaking havoc, destruction, and catastrophe every few thousand years. And this is what the high priest of ancient Egypt told the lawmaker of Athens about 600 BC, Solon. And Solon told Plato, he gave his writings to Plato concerning this. And this was supposedly about 9,000 years before that, the last catastrophe took place. So 9,000 plus 600, let's say about 10,000 BC, that's about 12,000 years ago. And that goes again with what a lot of historians and archaeologists have claimed, that we had a major destruction about 12,500 years ago, and it falls again towards those dates. Now, it's led to speculation that Newton may have been referring to Nibiru. The Mysteriosity YouTube channel tweeted, "So the late Jim Marrs predicted #Nibiru is supposed to pass us in the year 2060, based on what Newton wrote." He says, "Weird, because that's the same year Sir Isaac Newton claimed the world would end." End quote. Newton's notes are on show in Jerusalem's Hebrew University. So these notes can be seen and read there. Jerusalem's Hebrew University in Jerusalem, of course, and the curator of the exhibition, Yemaima ben Menahem, Menahem is the famous physicist, had been guided by religion and not by science. This is what he said. Sir Isaac Newton guided by religion, not by science. Sir Isaac Newton had a morbid fascination with the end of the world, and the topic has even been the subject of a 2003 documentary, Newton, the Dark Heretic. The procedure of that documentary, Malcolm Neum said, "What has been coming out over the past 10 years is what an apocalyptic thinker Newton was. He spent something like 50 years and wrote 4,500 pages trying to predict when the end of the world was coming. But until now, it was not known that he ever wrote down a final figure. He was very reluctant to do so." Now, Nibiru believers are convinced the rogue Nibiru system is making its way from the outer solar system inwards, where it will wreak havoc on Earth as it passes at or about 4 million miles away. They say the planet will cause the poles to switch, sparking great earthquakes and volcanic eruptions which threaten billions of lives, let alone tsunamis and volcanic ash clouds and all that goes with all this. That has happened before, of course. We've seen that from the various asteroid and comet impacts that we had on Earth. The Earth still has tremendous scars from all this. The Nibiru theory emerged in 1976 when the writer Zecharia Sitchin claimed two ancient Middle Eastern cultures, the Babylonians and the Sumerians, told of a great planet coming called Nibiru that orbited the sun. Well, it's not just the Babylonians and Sumerians, even the ancient Egyptians knew, and they were not shy of telling Solon, the ancient Athenian lawmaker. So yeah, they knew. And in fact, the ancient Egyptian high priest's comment to Solon was, why is it that you people, the Athenians, that had such a great knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, etc., have forgotten about all this? You shouldn't have forgotten, because it takes place every so often. Now, going back to this, it was not just Babylonian Sumerians, it was also the ancient Egyptians, at one time before that, the ancient Greeks. Let's remember that they also had the Antikythera astrolabe. It was like a star computer machine that kept track of all the constellations. And it takes, 12,000 years for all the constellations to go by. So why would they have an instrument, a portable instrument? I can imagine that they had an even more sophisticated one that was room size. But the portable instrument that was being carried and found sunk in a shipwreck off Antikythera Island in the Aegean back in 1901, why would they have gone into all this trouble of creating an instrument that would keep track of each constellation going over, as the Earth changes position, or as the planets change position? Because I just say we have to know, the fact is that the Antikythera device had a geocentric system, not an heliocentric solar system. It had a geocentric system that Earth was in the middle. Of course, you can do that with any planet. Let's say I'm on Mars. You can have a Mars-centered system, or if I were on the moon of Earth, I'd have a moon-centered system and calculate how everything goes around me around the moon. Anyway, they had a geocentric system in the middle of this whole planetary array, and the Antikythera device has Earth in the center of the system. And this was from antiquity of ancient Greeks. Now, obviously, it was a very complicated, sophisticated computer. Why would they go into all this if they didn't know that they had to keep track of what was coming around? Don't you think? The answer is, of course, yes. They had to keep track of what the constellations would be doing around them. Because I guess something would have been coming and they had to keep track of when to do what. Maybe go underground, maybe go off Earth, I have no idea. Now, the Nibiru theory was linked to the beginning of the end of the world by Christian fundamentalists who believed the rapture would start back in September 23rd, a couple of years ago, that was connected to the celestial activity as interpreted from the passages in the Bible. But with the world still turning, and recently Express UK told how Mr. Mars claimed anyone saying Nibiru was coming in the next year or so was wrong. Speaking in an episode of Ancient Aliens, New World Order, before he died of a heart attack, age 73, Mr. Mars said Nibiru was not predicted to pass us until the year 2060, just as Sir Isaac Newton had predicted, giving us just about, a little over 40 years to prepare. He said Nibiru is destined to return to the vicinity of Earth in 2060, so it could be on its way to our solar system right now. Some people believe this is why we have the highly erratic weather and environmental changes that we see taking place on Earth. He says, of course, the government acts as if nothing is going on, but what else is new? Now, Mr. Sitchin came up with the conspiracy theory after claiming to have deciphered the cuneiform writing on ancient Sumerian tablets, the ancient language scholar Mr. Sitchin said, the record showed the Sumerians knew of an extra planet beyond Pluto called Nibiru. And we already have, a couple of years ago, a lady from NASA came on to announce to the world that they had discovered a brown dwarf star at the edge of our solar system. A brown dwarf star. It's too small and weak to be a star, and it's too big to be a planet, so they call it brown dwarf star. And that's bad news. That's not good. That is not good. At the edge of our solar system. Now, theorists say, according to Mr. Sitchin's teachings, the next pass of Earth will take place around 2060. So they're all sort of coinciding. Now, not everyone agrees with Mr. Sitchin's interpretation of the texts. NASA and a host of other scientists have debunked Nibiru as myth. All these dates of the end of the world came and went because, as NASA points out, Nibiru is a myth and a hoax, despite the amount of believers. NASA scientist Dr. David Morrison said there is no credible evidence whatever for the existence of Nibiru. There are no pictures, no tracking, no astronomical observations. I can quite specifically say how we know Planet X or Nibiru does not exist and does not threaten Earth. Firstly, now listen to this. If it was a planet heading into the inner solar system, no, we're not talking about inner, it could be outer solar system. He's talking about inner solar system. He's not talking about outer solar system or the edges of our solar system. He says, which are already showing perturbation of orbits, heating up of planets and tilting of the outer planets. Even our sun has tilted 6 degrees. So he says, if there was a planet heading into the inner solar system that was going to come close to the Earth, it would already be inside the orbit of Mars. It would be bright. It would be easily visible to the naked eye. If it was up there, it would be easy to see it. All of us could see it, end quote. Space boffin Dr. Brian Cox has also insisted Planet X does not exist. Okay, call it Planet 9, call it Wormwood, call it Goblin, call it Little Green Man, Little Gray whatever, Mouse, call it whatever you want. The ancients had records of this coming, but forget about the ancients, forget about Sir Isaac Newton, forget about Sitchin or Morrison. Just look at the Google Earth and look at the various crater impact zones and the comet impact zones. Look above the horizontal crashing of the crust, what slashed into the crust from west to east. Look at the northern area of just north of South America, and then look at the tip of South America, between South America and Antarctica. You'll see a similar crash again. Something slammed into the mantle of the Earth, making a huge gash from west to east, just like the one that's north of South America, west to east. And you'll see that we have a lot of these areas, even the one around Papua New Guinea, a smaller one going in, slashing from west to east, slashing and carving the Earth's crust. It seems that we had a tremendous amount of activity, things, really huge things smashing into Earth. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.